The court of House Velis shimmered with crystalline light as embers of floating stardust drifted along the vaulted ceilings. Princess Zyra Velis of the Etherian ascendancy sat upon a throne carved from a single shard of transparent diamond, her posture immaculate, her iridescent lavender skin reflected in the polished floor beneath her. She was barely 19 by Etherian standards, roughly the human equivalent of 17, but arrogance radiated from her with the weight of a dying sun. Today was a day of diplomatic ritual. Today she would finally see what the older courtiers whispered about with half fear, half dismissive fascination. A human. The Etherians, tall, lithe, and telepathically gifted, considered humans crude war machines forged from Deathworld biology. Rumors painted them as beings who crushed steel with bare hands, who thrived under radiation, whose spirits refused to break even when their bones did. But Zyra, young and untested, dismissed these tales as exaggerations of frightened alien minds. So when the human delegation was announced, she narrowed her eyes, wondering whether the myth would breathe, speak, or crumble under her scrutiny. A phalanx of armored soldiers marched in, tall figures sealed inside matte black-powered suits. Plasma lances rested at their sides, exoservos humming quietly. At the center stood the one she was most curious about, a simple soldier, not a diplomat. His name, Sergeant Elias Reed of the United Terran Legions. The visor of his helmet glowed faintly blue, obscuring his face. Zyra felt mildly disappointed. If humans were so terrifying, why hide? When the formal greetings concluded, the princess descended her steps with graceful disdain. Her golden eyes studied him the way a scholar might inspect a primitive tool. "So," she said, her voice floating through the hall like frost, "this is humanity's contribution to the peace exchange? A soldier? Could they not have sent a poet, a thinker, or someone less primitive?" Her entourage snickered. Elias remained still. She circled him. "Why armor yourself so thoroughly in my presence?" she continued. "Do you fear us? Or do you simply wish to appear larger than you are?" Still Elias did not answer, though his helmet inclined slightly. Zyra felt irritation spark. How dare he stand silent before royalty? She leaned close and whispered, loud enough for the court to hear, "They say humans are unstoppable, that your bodies are weapons. But all I see is metal. Perhaps without it, you are nothing." Laughter rippled through the chamber, silvery, elegant, cruel. Elias finally spoke, voice calm through the speaker. "Princess Zyra, would you like to see what stands beneath the armor?" The court went silent. The idea was preposterous. No human removed their armor on a foreign world. Not in an alien palace. Not in front of those who could so easily strike them down. But Elias reached to his collar and unlocked the seals. With a hiss of pressure, the helmet detached. He lifted it off. The court drew back in shock. Humans were said to be fearsome, but Zyra had never expected fear to come packaged within eyes so alive. His irises were a deep storm blue, yet held warmth, determination, something ancient and heavy. Scars traced along his temple, reminders of battles survived rather than boasted about. Piece by piece, Elias dismantled the suit, revealing a plain military undershirt, sweat-darkened from long travel. He stood unarmored, unyielding, as vulnerable as any human ever could be among aliens who viewed vulnerability as weakness. One of Zyra's guards hissed, "Princess, he's exposing himself to toxins." "The gravity." "It's fine," Elias murmured. "We adapt." Zyra stepped forward, her curiosity overwhelming her scorn. Why would a human willingly shed protection among those who might harm him? "You walk defenseless." He looked at her evenly. "Because strength isn't the armor you wear. It's the steps you take without it." The words struck the court like gravity shifting beneath their feet. But Zyra was not ready to yield. "You think you impress me by abandoning your defenses," she said, chin lifting. "Anyone can pretend to be fearless." Elias's gaze hardened, not with pride, but with something older. "Princess, I've fought on worlds where the wind itself shredded skin. I've buried friends under 3 suns. I've walked across deserts with cracked ribs because retreat meant abandoning civilians. Fear is real, but it doesn't command me. I walk through it. That's what it means to be human." Whispers stirred through the chamber. Some sounded offended, others awed. Zyra felt discomfort twist in her chest. She had expected brutish arrogance, not quiet conviction. "You speak as though pain is a medal," she said. "No," Elias replied softly. "Pain is a teacher. I don't wear armor to hide it. I wear it to survive long enough to make sure someone else doesn't suffer what I did." Silence. Then Zyra flared her nostrils, sensing weakness, her youth driving her forward again. "Words are easy, human. But what are they without challenge?" Before anyone could object, she projected a psychic impulse toward him, enough to send most species to their knees. It struck him like a crushing wave of pressure. Elias staggered, but did not fall. His jaw clenched. Muscles trembled. Sweat beaded across his brow. Zyra pushed harder, expecting him to break. Instead, Elias took a step forward. Then another. And another. Every movement was agony, but he kept walking, eyes locked on hers with a fire that was older than stardust and harder than steel. Gasps echoed across the throne room. Even Zyra's guards stared in disbelief. She withdrew the pressure, shaken to her core. Why keep walking?" she whispered, genuinely unsure. Elias exhaled, voice hoarse. "Because someone has to. And because the universe doesn't care how hard the path is. Humans learn to walk when every step could kill us. On Deathworlds, the ground tries to devour you, the air tries to poison you, and the sky tries to burn you. But we walk anyway, because stopping means dying." Zyra's heartbeat quickened. For the first time, fear mingled with admiration, though she could not name it yet. "You challenge me without raising a weapon," she murmured. "You defy pain without glory. You care without reason. You're kind. You're strange." Elias managed a tired smile. "Humans aren't the strongest species, Princess. We just don't stop. And sometimes that's enough." The court was motionless. Zyra's voice softened, shedding the cold elegance she had been raised to wield like a blade. "I mocked you because stories made your people sound like monsters. But you are simply human." "And that," Elias replied, is more than enough. She bowed her head, a gesture so small yet monumental that every courtier froze. Then let this exchange be the first truth I accept. Humanity walks where others refuse. Elias straightened, heartbeat steadying. And sometimes we walk together. A murmur of approval, gentle, uncertain, passed through the Ethrians. The princess extended her hand. Elias took it, unarmored skin against hers, and protocol shattered like old starlight. No barrier, no fear, only understanding. Days later, rumors spread across the ascendancy. The princess who bowed, the human who walked. Zyra requested Elias as her escort for future negotiations, not out of politics, but respect. She no longer mocked those who bore scars. She asked how they earned them. Elias returned to his armor eventually, but sometimes he walked without it, trusting the palace guards, trusting her. And every time he did, the court whispered, "There goes humanity, unarmored, unbroken." Zyra watched him one twilight evening as he stood beneath the floating stars of the courtyard, and she finally understood. Strength wasn't the ability to crush. It was the ability to endure. Epilogue. When Elias left months later, embarking for the front lines where old wars still smoldered, Zyra saw him off personally. No throne, no crown, just two beings who had learned from each other. "You once walked forward when I tried to make you fall," she said quietly. "I will remember that." Elias strapped on his helmet, but left the visor transparent this time so she could see his eyes. "And I'll remember that you stopped pushing so I could stand beside you." Their hands met once more, no psychic challenge, no power struggle, only respect. When the shuttle lifted into the stars, Zyra whispered to herself, "The universe may forge stronger beings, but none walk like humans." And somewhere inside a Terran warship drifting toward danger, Elias Reed smiled, because he knew. Someone out there finally understood. HFY